What's the latest, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the In the Paint Show presented by Ballislife, episode 114. Here with my co-host, Ani Umana. Ani, we had coming off a long week. Another great week of sports, really. Seems like there's always something going on. And we're going to cover a lot of topics in this podcast. Obviously, the big topic, we're going to break down some high school ball. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA All-Stars, All-Star game announcements, and all-star game announcements at the high school level. But I think the big news everybody heard, it's kind of like, what's big news for one day? Then he kind of rescinded it. Then he said, okay, yeah, it's
right.
It's on again. Is Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers announced his retirement after, 20 plus years, 22 years. Mm-hmm. And, Tom obviously won 7 Super Bowls. When you say that, it's just like, 7 Super Bowls, what? But what's crazy, and we spoke about this on this pod with you and previous pods way back in the day, is that like he's really close to having more than 7.
Yeah,
like, he's also close to having a lot less than 7. Like
3.
Yeah, it's a thin line, like of what's going on, like in his career. Like he's had some huge moments, some of the hugest moments in NFL history, really, regarding so. With Tom Brady retirement, I wanted to get your quick hot take on, what are your favorite Brady moments, and I'll go over mine. What sticks in your mind about Tom Brady when you think about it, what's your 2 or 3 favorite moments or most memorable?
My most memorable is really when he was going for his first Super Bowl and in Oakland, in the snow, and then they called it incomplete pass, and then on the road to the first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like that always stood out to me because I was like, man, who is this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what is this? Yeah, that sticks out to me too.
And I remember they played the Cowboys. I forgot what year it was. It was a Thanksgiving game, and he just torched us. And I can never forget like how bad he torched us, right? And like, I'm a big Cowboys fan. I guess he was like back in the day, I was a huge Cowboys fan. Like sure. Get pissed off when they would lose. I remember he just torched us so bad. I was like, how do you stop this man?
Where's this guy going in his career?
Right.
Yeah. Like, when is this gonna end? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like
a long time ago. The Brady Tug game in Woodson, dude, that's 2001 playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Most there's nobody in the NBA that was playing then that is even, close. LeBron was still a couple years away, and he's like, everybody's like, wow, look at LeBron, how long he's played. That was before that.
Right.
LeBron was what? 2001 fall.
So he was a sophomore, right?
Yeah, he was a sophomore going into his junior year of high school. So that's a long time ago. So yeah, that's one of my moments. Obviously, because I'm a Raider fan, so I remember where I was. I remember what I was doing that day. The comeback against the Falcons, that's also related to basketball, because I was down in South Virginia filming. We were doing a Matt McClung game, and we happened to be down in South. That's real south in Virginia. That's almost Tennessee. Gate City, Virginia. Very great, nice people. I won't forget that time. They were very nice. But like, we had to get a flight back the next day or whatever, and we were like, well, we got to watch the Super Bowl somewhere. So it's a small town. It was kind of cold. So we were just watching the game.
That Falcons comeback was wild.
And we're like, okay, it's 28-3. Then they scored a few times against the Falcons. I'm like, oh, the Falcons are going to do what the Falcons do. Like, this is typical Falcons. There's just some teams that, are like going to do certain things. I think the Cowboys are a little like that.
They are a lot like that.
Yeah, they're a lot like that because of the quarterback situation. Everybody's always, this is the hope of us. The Raiders are definitely like that. The Raiders have a reputation for self-destructing. But the Falcons are just, oh God, they're just
they're like in a tier of their own on that.
They're on a tier of their own almost, because there's bad franchises. In all sports, there's bad franchises, right? especially like the Browns are known as a bad franchise, and there's a few others that like people don't ever expect them to win, but there's few teams like the Cowboys, Falcons, and Raiders where people just expect them to screw up.
Yeah, like if they win like the first round of the playoffs, so they have a good season, it's like somewhere along the line,
something's gonna happen.
Shit up. Like that is not going to end the way we want it to end.
Correct. That's what they have the reputation for. So that, and then obviously when they had that great season when Randy Moss came over from the Raiders, people thought he was he was on the back end of his career, wasn't doing well. The Raiders were not good with Jamarcus Russell. The Raiders were just not playing good at that time. After that, losing that Super Bowl.
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, boy, they were not very good. And people were like, well, how's Moss playing? Then he came over to New England and kind of like rejuvenated him. And everybody thought maybe they would match the 72 Shula Dolphins, the no-name defense, but nope. The Giants
had nothing for them. I thought there was no way the Giants were going to beat them that Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, they kept coming. I mean, they kept doing well. You know, the D-line was strong. I mean, they just put enough, and they got obviously that great catch.
Yeah. I mean, who was that guy that got that catch? That one.
I want to say Tyree. Is it Tyree?
Yes, Tyree.
I don't remember his first name right now. It escapes my mind, but I will never forget the play.
So like when he made that catch, so I used to play a lot of Madden NFL video games. And like in Madden, they literally incorporated that catch. The problem is like you could do that catch like 4 or 5 times in a game where like that catch was like a once in a lifetime thing. So like I remember that catch. That was nuts.
It's David Tyree. And obviously the guy, the DB who comes out on NBC now, he was on the field at that time. He's their sideline reporter. So I always remember that. So, wanted to get your take, as obviously he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. And who is on your NFL Mount Rushmore? 4 guys. Who are you think are the 4 greatest players? Either the ones you've seen or just the 4 greatest players in NFL history.
Put me on the spot right there. Brady for sure. Jerry Rice.
Okay. Yep.
Montana.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. 4th one. Barry Sanders.
Okay. Yeah, just the talent level and how great he is. Those are hard to argue with. Montana was on mine when I was growing up. I was like, this guy's so good. There's just something still about him. Even if you didn't like football that much or you were just a casual fan, like my dad would be like, hey, Montana's like, I want to watch Montana. Yeah, let me know when he's on. Come back. He's going to out of the score. Like, oh, man, that was a hell of a throw. Like, Montana just had the magic. Montana magic. He was obviously cool, calm under pressure. When he won the 4 Super Bowls like Bradshaw, I was like, this guys are on another level.
Right.
I mean, Montana never played even like one bad quarter in the Super Bowl. Like, he was just, his numbers are astronomical. Now, obviously, Brady's played it more, so he's had ups and downs. But like Montana, when he got there the 4 times, it was like he was almost perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't going to lose when he.
Yeah. He was his passer rating, his completion percentage, all that's way up. So I can't believe that he's like knocked off. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to put 2 quarterbacks. So I have Jerry Rice as well, like you. Instead of Barry Sanders, I have Jim Brown, who I just think is just a best specimen and a great back. The best back. Obviously there's 2 or 3 other guys I think that's right there, but I would take Jim Brown. Brady is on from Montana, and then Lawrence Taylor, who to me is by far the best defensive player, like make the most impact on defense.
Yeah, of all time.
He's just like, if the game's different. Obviously it's played different. There's a lot more passing. We talked about that before, but that guy changed the game completely. Like, change formations, change when people call timeouts. Right. Like, he did everything. Like, he's the only player I've ever seen that really can tackle. I guess you would call it tackle, like horizontally. Like, he could really just dive, completely be horizontal, and it's a good play.
But
when you play football, and you learn this in Pop Warner in high school, like, don't leave your feet, keep your head up.
He could just go right in.
Yeah, dude, he just moved right in, and like guys would almost be falling before he even tackled him. Like, they're just he was just had that reputation. So those would be my 4 guys. Again, we can argue about those all day till the cows come home. I think most people will have Jerry Rice and Brady on their Mount Rushmore. It's very hard to leave those guys off just because of the numbers.
Right.
And you know, if you think Randy Moss is the second best receiver, or if you think he's the best receiver, Rice's numbers blow him out of the water. It's like, now if you've seen Moss play, you know how good he is at his peak. But like Rice's numbers are so much better. It's like his numbers are so much better than anybody else's. You know, so
right.
It's just very, very, very hard to take those 2 guys off. Now let's go to athletes.
I didn't think of Lawrence Taylor. LT, like for sure, like he just was so disruptive defensively. Like he was a defensive playmaker, and the best one of all time. Like said, like he changed how offenses had to be played.
Correct. Where you lined up, who you blocked with, the blocking back, like everything. Nobody could handle him for whatever reason, and he was tough and he played hurt. You know, kind of like he played hurt. He didn't care. And his peak, like I think he was one of those guys like Charles Barkley, like, hey guy, I'm gonna give you my peak and everything. Like I'm not gonna play 17 years.
Right. Like I'm not gonna prolong this. This is it.
No, yeah. He gave him the 2 Super Bowls. Obviously, they were dominant in the first one over John Elway, and then the second one they won on the last second. They weren't as dominant, but like the team was aging, and that like he basically had 1 or 2 more years, and that was it. He was done. So that was kind of added to his mystique, I think, because you never saw him weak. You never saw him like broken down.
Yeah, like Father Time's catching up to him.
No, yeah. You didn't see him that way. He just left the game, kind of like Jim Brown did, kind of like a few of the other greats did. So let's move on to athletes, because I've seen some people talking about athletes, and they're like the greatest athletes of all time, and they're listing like all these one sport guys. Kobe, I'm like, Kobe, you know, just the guys I've seen listed with Brady recently on social media. So, you know, I'm like, wait a minute, these are supposed to be the best athletes of all time, So it's very hard for me to add anybody with one that only played one sport.
Yeah, I agree.
The only guy I would think that played one sport would be Muhammad Ali. He'd be the only guy on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Just because he's so transcendent. And it leads into my next topic, which is more relevant to what we're doing. But I wanted to go over that real quick. So I would have Muhammad Ali as my only guy that's a one sport guy. Just a transcendent athlete, one of the most well-known athletes of all time. One of the most well-known Americans. I really still haven't thought about his death, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know he died 5 years ago or so, but I'm like,
it doesn't feel like it.
No, he's still around. To me, because he's always been around. Like, he's one of the most photographed Americans of all time. I think him and Babe Ruth, probably the presidents, right? FDR, JFK, and like Michael Jordan. Like, those 2 or 3 or 4 guys are like beyond sports.
Right.
Babe Ruth, Jordan, and Muhammad Ali. Like, maybe there's one more guy I'm missing, but they're on a whole level of their own, you know, in terms of who knows them, their popularity. So he would be my only one sport athlete. I guess my other guys would be Jackie Robinson, who played 4 sports at UCLA, was well known as a great high school athlete in even more than 4 sports. Bo Jackson, obviously he's kind of around just for a short period of time, but I think he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. And Wilt Chamberlain, who most people, again, I've read some statistics about that, and this goes into scouting, what we do and what we talk about. We know how important height is. Obviously, I'm not very tall, so I know how important height is, like when you play ball, you know, and it's like there's not that many Americans over 6'10" who are between the ages of 18 and 40 who are available to play like in the NBA. They said there's anywhere from like 2,800 to like 3,500 males that are 6'10", that age. So it's not a big group.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever, there's how many of the NBA? 450. So there's about 300 of them or 200 of them, 250 of those guys are already in the NBA out of that 3,500. Right. So when you think about most of them, though, again, they're special athletes, but you think about most guys 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot. They have a lot of health problems, 1, and 2, they have coordination problems. You know, again, you have your freak of natures like Shaq and a few of the guys like that.
Right.
But most guys above 6'9", they don't move well.
No.
In life, they have circulation problems. They got cardiovascular problems. That's just because of their
knees, all that.
Yeah. We know that. We're not here to break them down. But so when you think of Will, most guys are not good athletes at that size. Dude, that guy was just a phenomenal athlete in anything he tried. He was super strong, meaning strong in the weight room. He's a sprinter.
High jumper.
The sprinter and high jumper thing, like you're a big 8 high jump champ. Okay. Philadelphia is a big city. When Wilt was growing up, Philadelphia was the second or third biggest city in the country, which is not no more. It's lost population over time. But like, he's the sprint champion. Like, I've never even heard of a guy being a sprint champion taller than 6'3" or 6'4" in any city at any time.
Right.
Like, this guy's 6'7".
Daniel 7'1". With sprints, high jump, long jump. I think he did shot put. I mean, it was just nuts.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because, like I said, most guys you lose a lot of coordination after 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
That's what makes, I think, Michael Jordan so special, and a few other guys that are like 6'6", 6'7". Those guys are not normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you say, okay, he's a good athlete. Like, you could say an NBA player is a good athlete, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously there are a lot of good athletes in the NBA. Some so better than others, but there's no guys in the NBA 6'7", 6'6" that can play DB in the NFL. They're not coordinated enough. They can't move it quick enough. You know, that's why guys are 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, because there's a different level of coordination. So when you think of Will at 7'1", like, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
So it's very so those would be my guys. I don't know if you have any thoughts on yours, or if any of those 4 guys are in your top Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I would definitely have Bo Jackson, Muhammad Ali, Wilt Chamberlain. That was my main one, and then Deion Sanders. Who also played baseball, even though, like, I know his baseball career wasn't like crazy good, but like just a really, really good athlete, transcendent athlete. But that's the only one I would add to it. But Wilt Chamberlain would just, I mean, I just would watch the videos and be like, how is this real? Like, you don't see that now. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't even see it now. Yeah.
So,
it's kind of like when people talk about basketball, it's like, Wilt Chamberlain doesn't even count. Like, well, I'm not counting Wilt Chamberlain. Like, he's like an alien, you know what I mean?
Right.
He doesn't even count. You know?
Or when they asked, how would Wilt Chamberlain do in today's NBA? He would average like 50 points a game. I said, no, but like, who is built and looks like Wilt Chamberlain in the NBA? Like, there's nobody. Like, he was bench pressing 450 pounds. Like, it was like a 10-pound dumbbell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have that.
No, we just don't have that. Yeah. So it's only come around once, once a 100 years. It's not, we haven't built another one yet. So yeah, that's very interesting. I like Deion too. I was talking with my buddies watching the game about Deion, and one guy had seen Deion in the airport, and, it's Deion somewhere. And he's like, Deion got the good size. He's a little bigger than people think, because they think, he's a DB, doesn't like to tackle. He's a little bigger than you think. Long arms, broad shoulders. He's a strong athlete. And then obviously he's got that top speed. We really rarely see it like a guy like that at the top speed in the NBA. I'm sorry, in the NFL, where it's like, man, the top speed you can't compare. And there's other NFL players that said that, like, again, because we haven't ever talked about this, and this is a good topic too, is like linear speed. And people brought it up with Cooper Kupp from the Rams, who are obviously advancing to the Super Bowl. They're like, how does that guy get open? They're like, the very big difference between linear speed, top speed, and like getting open, And like Deion Sanders when he put on those pads, he didn't really lose any speed, and he was already one of the fastest NFL players ever. One of a great track. I mean, great track runner as well at Florida State, and obviously a baseball player. And I think he's a little better at baseball than people give him credit for. He's a decent contact hitter. He can put the ball on the ground, get on base. He wasn't like a just undisciplined player. He just needed more reps and more season. He's playing football, so
he definitely better than Michael Jordan at baseball.
Say that again.
He's definitely better than Michael Jordan at baseball.
That's a whole other time. Like, how good could Jordan been if he concentrated on the game? Yeah, he obviously had a big strike zone. Michael Jordan had guys are striking him out. You know, he needed a lot of work, but no, yeah, Dion is a pro's pro, and I could see him being, you know, he'd be in my top 10 and probably closer to my top 4. So that's a very interesting. And I wanted to talk to you about Ali a little bit, Bo, and some of these older guys. And it relates to today, and I wanted to get your evaluation on it. Is why do people on social media feel they can comment and rank athletes like in baseball, boxing, and football, but it's very sensitive subject in basketball? Like, in other words, me and you can see what Will can do. It's not you. It don't matter how grainy the video is. You see how quick he is, how high he jumps, how big he is.
Right.
Same thing with, I think, Jim Brown. And when you watch the tape, you're like, wow, this guy's awesome.
Right.
Walter Payton as well, and a few other guys that are old. And then Muhammad Ali is so good and so well known, and he was filmed so much, people feel like they watched him live. Like when I watch Muhammad Ali's tape, I feel just like my dad felt when he watched it live. I don't know what it is about boxing. Like you can watch a boxing tape and feel like, oh, I remember, like that's, you know, even though it's very old.
Yeah, but like you're there, like this is actually happening right now. As you're watching, right?
Yeah, Thrill in Manila, you Rumble in the Jungle. Yeah. I don't feel like I missed out because I was 1 year old or not alive or whatever. Like I don't care.
Right. You feel like the energy and you know, just everything that's going on.
Yeah. So why can't we do that? But when it comes to basketball, everybody loses their mind and be like, no, that's too old. No, that doesn't count. Those guys don't count. Why do we do that in basketball, you feel?
I think because there's just so much of an emphasis on like how the game has changed. You know, like you hear so much about how basketball changed from even 2011. You know, when there's the Mavs won championship to now, or you know, or let's say like these guys like Magic and Larry and Julius Erving and Wilt and Bill Russell, and they say, man, those guys are kind of like extinct. But I'm like, okay, Magic was a 6'9" point guard. He has hella feel. Like, there's not even a handful of guards in the NBA right now that are 6'3" and under that can do what he do. Like, you know, you got your LaMelos. Well, I'm not comparing to Magic, but like just as a passer, Chris Paul and stuff. But like, Magic was. I mean, you don't see Magic Johnsons.
No. So that's what I'm saying. So why do the people knock him and say, "Well, that's old"? You know, I didn't see him. Oh,
I think it's just more so.
Or like the players today.
Yeah, it's like a prisoner of the moment. Really, I think you see that more in basketball than you do in the other sports. It's just you know, it's like someone can have a really, really good regular season. They say, you know, he's a top 10 player of all time in the NBA. Like you see it so much because I think people are so much prisoner of the moment, and like you said, they're not there, so they're just so much caught into this time. Then like you hear a lot of like in the commentary. I remember I was watching the game. We were just talking about how much the basketball has changed, the 3-point shooting and limiting less of the mid-range pools and all this stuff. And I think in like the other sports, they talk about it change. Obviously, football has changed. You know, boxing has changed, but like there's a lot of you see a lot of you know, cherishing the
moment,
the back, like the plays back in the day and the players back in the day. I don't think you see it as much in the NBA as you see in boxing, which they'll go back and talk about, you know, boxing. You know, they'll just roll off boxers in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
It's no problem, like it's today.
Like football, you see it a lot. Baseball, you see it a lot. Basketball, you know, I don't think you hear that as much. I think you hear about more how it's progressed more so than like talking about like how great Julius Erving was, and you know, even Shaq. You know, maybe they call Shaq like a dinosaur, and you know, Shaq was the most dominant. He's the most dominant player I've ever seen in person. So like you know, stuff like that is just great. That you hear that more.
Yeah, I'm very in tune to that because I'm like, how can you know that Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson were great backs, but you can't tell me that Jerry West was a good guard? Like, right? It don't make no sense to me. Like, you can't if you can't evaluate on film a little bit, you can't evaluate. No. Sorry, and if you can't see it, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna take your opinion. It's okay, it's your opinion, but I don't think it's a valid opinion. Because you know Muhammad Ali is a great boxer.
Right.
And you know sports, but you can't tell me that, Oscar Robinson's a good guard. Like, oh, he's too old. They're playing a good It doesn't make any sense to me.
John Havlicek, Bob Cousy, like you tell me, like, hey, just watch it. Like you said,
watch it. Yeah,
watch 10 to 15 minutes of Boston Celtics and in a Philly in the Philly Warriors game. Just watch 10, 15. Like you will see how good those guys were.
I agree, and I argue that all the time. I'm just like, there's a great one. The Wilt Chamberlain archives on YouTube. You guys, if you're listening, go to YouTube. The Wilt Chamberlain has a lot of great videos. Are old, very old. Shows you how so good some of the old guys are. Hal Greer, Chet Walker, Jerry West. I mean, they're really good players. So anyway, don't want to spend too much time on the top. I just thought it was kind of interesting because, again, we're talking about Brady with all times, GOATs, Mount Rushmore, and it's like with basketball, everybody has just this protective shield over their guys, especially the recent ones, and it's like, but you don't hear about that in football and baseball and basketball. I'm sorry, football, baseball, and boxing and other sports. So it's just like, I don't understand why completely, but I like your explanation. Kind of prisoners in the moment. I hope more people are not prisoners in the moment, especially the people listening to our podcast. But I wanted to, before we move on to the Super Bowl, I wanted to let people know that we're looking to spread more apparel promotions across all of our platforms, including in our Ballislife podcast network. So get 15% off your next order when you shop with us on the our shop. It's shop.ballislife.com. It's a one-time use of a discount code. It's in the paint, and the discount code is PAINT15. Once again, that discount code is PAINT15. You get 15% off your next order with us at shop.ballislife.com. We got tees, shorts, backpack, basketballs. So hopefully you guys take advantage if you're listening to this pod. So let's move on to the Super Bowl, Ani. Rams and Bengals. What's your highline take? And then, we'll start jumping into the prep scene.
Man, first off, like this is like the most random matchup and Super Bowl matchup. Obviously Rams are very talented, right? Sure. But Joe Burrow's in the second year and he was hurt the first year just to lead the Bengals to the Super Bowl. It's a real story. And Joe Burrow's he has, I wouldn't say he's my favorite quarterback, but he's like my top 2 or 3 quarterback, just with his swagger and just his confidence. It just is, I love all of it. I'm rooting for the Bengals, so but I think Rams win. I think they win by at least 2 scores. I think Rams are really, really talented. I didn't know they were going to get by San Francisco, but big time 4th quarter, even being down 10 there. But I'd say the Rams win by like 14 points. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be a really fun matchup.
It is kind of random. Right?
Yeah, kind of random. Just who would have predicted Rams and Bengals in the Super Bowl? I mean,
very few. Well, did you see that one guy? He predicted the score of both conference finals games on a $20 parlay. He won $500,000. It's online. What? He predicted the final scores of both games and won $500,000. So if you follow sports, man, it's just unbelievable on a $20 bet. And he used the credit. He used the credit he had on the website for the the one he used, whether it was DraftKings or whatever one he used. He had a credit. He's like, let me put $20 on there, and he hit both scores parlay. Man, life changing. So I'm with you on the randomness of it. Now, if San Francisco would have won, it wouldn't have been random because that would have been their 3rd Super Bowl matchup. We talked about Joe Montana, who's on your Mount Rushmore. He beat the Bengals twice, beat them in close games. I remember both, but I especially remember the second one because the Bengals were very popular. This Icky Shuffle that Icky Woods had was just popular. Real popular, like especially in Ohio and for Cincinnati Bengals fans. Icky Woods is from California, and the Bengals had a bunch of players from California. So that's why I remember that Super Bowl going up against the Niners. And they had guys like David Fulcher, who's from Fremont High in L.A., Icky Woods is from Fresno Edison. And they had 3 of their 4 DBs was from California. They had a linebacker, and their 2 lineman Anthony Munoz, who's like one of the best linemen of all time, and Max Montoya, who he's from La Puente, and Anthony Munoz is from Chaffee of Ontario. So that team always stuck with me. Like you said, it was a little bit of an upset. I really think McVay, boy wonder of the Rams coach, he really dodged a bullet. He didn't call a good game.
No.
He would have been heavily criticized if they would have lost that game. They kind of pulled it out for him.
Right.
The Rams made a lot of mistakes, and so did San Francisco. But like you said, it was a close game. I think the Rams have that D line with Aaron Donald and their defense. Like you said, they're going to get some pressure on Burrow. There's two good quarterbacks in this Super Bowl. Obviously, it's a quarterback league right now. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the Rams haven't played since they lost to the New England Patriots, and the Bengals haven't played in even longer time than that. So it's very interesting. Obviously, I remember that. Obviously, everybody remembers that Patriots-Rams Super Bowl because it wasn't much after 9/11. It was only a few months after 9/11. There was a lot of mementos for 9/11. I actually have a glass that has the logo with the USA colors on it. It's a really nice memento with the Patriots, Rams.
Okay.
And the Rams were supposed to win. Obviously, right? They were big favorites in that Super Bowl with the greatest show on turf. Very interesting that team only has one Super Bowl, but this team is pretty good on offense. Obviously, they don't have the running game that Ram team did, but they can get the ball up and down the field. And like you said, they should be favorites. Very interesting that it's in LA. Yeah, I don't know if you heard anything about it, Ani, about like the parking situations and how much those are costing. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, what is that? Like,
it's unbelievable. You know LA. LA's like Dallas, and that's that traffic. It's just
y'all's LA traffic is
it's its own beast. You know what I mean? It's its own beast.
If I could just fly, you know what I mean?
You can just fly around the city. Yeah.
That Dallas traffic's a beast, but LA, Dallas traffic ain't nothing like LA.
LA's a monster. So, people are saying, "Hey, I'll drop you off. Park your car at my house for $250. I'll drive, drop you off right in front or whatever near, and I'll pick you up." So if you can find people like that, they're out there because they're charging a lot. During the conference championship game, it was in the $500 range, $400 range. So for the Super Bowl here in 2 weeks.
Yo, they need to have the Super Bowl in Dallas, man. I'm gonna do that. I don't got an idea.
It's crazy, you know what I mean? Because it's gonna like Josiah Johnson said, the guy who does a really great job on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Josiah Johnson, former UCLA player. He goes, man, that Uber surge is just gonna be crazy on Super Bowl Sunday. Man. Like the prices are gonna be outrageous, and the prices are outrageous. Real quick, what do you feel about that? That the average Joe Blow fan can't really enjoy the Super Bowl experience. Is that a big deal, or is that just the sign of the times and the way economics drive it? Or do you feel that there should be 10,000 seats reserved for kids or people that will never be able to afford the Super Bowl?
I think there should be a mixture of both. I don't think the Super Bowl should be a situation where it's just such a, I would say, money grab. You know what I mean? Like, I think there should have some seats reserved. They should make costs. It's already going to be expensive, it is, but make it where people can actually afford to go. I get it for like Uber drivers. Like, I think, someone that has like obviously gone into Uber before and listened to like their stories. I feel good that guys like them can make some money, can make some extra money.
Sure. They're just going with the money, like with the market value. But
I'm
with you. I think there should be a pool of maybe 5,000 seats or so where if you can prove you're low income or below an income threshold, that you get in a raffle for those tickets, and then they're $150 or whatever you want to charge, $200.
Right.
Yeah, because the lowest seat right now is like $6,000.
Yeah, minimum. Like that's insane. Like,
yeah.
Like, why would I want to pay $6,000 for one to get a bad seat in the Super Bowl? Like, it's not that damn important, man.
If those Cowboys are in the Super Bowl, you'd be thinking about it.
I have not paid $6,000 for the Cowboys. Look, I am not. Not for some for some high seats like that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's what's great about Super Bowl parties. Like, you have such a good seat. The cameras are so good. It's such a It's such a good experience with your friends. It's a good time to hang out with your friends, especially with COVID, and we haven't had a lot of opportunities to hang out with people. And, wanted to get your take on that. Two questions we have. As we talked about it on the last pod, the quarterbacks, Brady's retiring. The NFL's doing a great job with their young quarterbacks. Joe Cool, Patrick Mahomes. These guys are going to be around. The kid in Buffalo is going to be around.
Yep.
And they're marketing so well, and the games have been so close and good. So, what do you think? Do you ever see the NBA and Major League Baseball gaining on this NFL's popularity? NBA is obviously super popular, but they've had some knocks lately, last 5 years. Do you think the NBA or MLB is ever going to gain on the NFL? And what do you think the NBA needs to do to be a more exciting league?
I can see the MLB more so probably than the NBA. Okay. Talking to NBA, like, you got your guys that have just been your superstars, have been your faces, like LeBron. He's aging. Now who's that next one? Obviously, you have Giannis. Giannis doesn't have like that superpower, like global like name like a LeBron does. I think the NBA, I think they do a good job marketing. But I do think like the NFL creates storylines so much better than both the MLB and the NBA. And I just think like there's not as many. When you take LeBron out the picture, who do you really have that's such a global name? In the NFL, you're starting to kind of get that, like Patrick Mahomes. Look how they really blew up Stafford and Burrows, and it's a quarterback league. But like even Brady, is playing that. Like, I think just the way they painted the narrative, painted a picture for their athletes, I think it's something that the NBA and the MLB. I think MLB is starting to kind of get there. I think they do a really good job, especially during the playoffs. But I think the NBA just kind of, I think it's more just, the media is so powerful, and I just think that if they do a better job, just kind of not just promoting, but just a way you promote and the way you paint a certain player, I think they can get there. I just think it's all just the narrative. I mean, you talk about Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they talk about Patrick Mahomes' wife and his brother and TikTok and all that stuff, and people want them to lose. And then, like, you got people that want to lose. Just there's so much going on.
Yeah, the NFL does a great job of creating villains, heroes, and storylines.
Right.
And when I see the NBA, I think their main problem right now, and the NFL's done the best job at this, because it wasn't always like this, is in the last 20 years or so, every team at the beginning of the season thinks they have a chance. And the NBA, you don't get that.
Right.
Every Cowboy fan, every single year, this is the year we're going to turn it around.
Right.
No matter what team you are, Phoenix, Cardinals, Raiders,
Dolphins.
There's a big fan base. Steelers, we have a chance. And now it's a quarterback. So if you have a good franchise quarterback or a good quarterback, or you draft a good quarterback, you have hope. That's the key thing, is you have a chance and you have hope. There's a lot of NBA teams that don't have hope. Their fan bases don't have hope. So I think it drowns them out. They kind of, it's, they don't like the Houston Rockets we've talked about. Their fan base doesn't have a lot of hope that they're going to be successful. So maybe they won't tune into a couple games. Same thing with the what other team am I thinking about?
Maybe Pistons, even though they got Kay Cunningham, but they
don't have no hope. You know what I mean? So I think that's what the NFL's done great. Like the perception of parity. Now there may not be parity, but the perception of it drives a lot of value and a lot of eyeballs. Like, our team has a chance. Like, the Raiders really thought they had a chance to win the Super Bowl. I went to go watch them against the Bagels at the Death Star in October. Like, the fans were like, dude, we can get in the playoffs. We can win. It's just that I don't know how the NBA can do that, but they need to change it to where every team thinks they have at least a shot.
Well, you see a lot of, like, even like we talk about Browns and you talk about like Dolphins, like you see a lot of like preseason like notes, and like a lot of it's just so positive. Again, I think it's just how the perception, right? Like you talked about it, just is like, okay, this may be their breakthrough year because they got this signing or this quarterback. He's been looking good in training camp, and you know what I mean. Like you see a lot of that. So like you said, people have hope. you don't see it as much in the other sports.
No, you don't see it. You don't see it. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's the NBA's biggest problem is that every team has to feel that their fan base has to feel that they have a chance, and that you got to keep building on that.
Now I will ask this, like, because the NFL and teams generally do have a better chance at it.
Yeah.
82 compared to 16.
Yeah.
If the NBA were to lower how many games they had to play, do you think that would help the situation?
Yeah, the monotony of it might change a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying. Like the divisions are already set. You know who's going to win the division is going to go to the playoffs. Right. It does get a little monotonous. Like, obviously, I'm sure you're guilty of it. Maybe you watch more than I do. I'm guilty of it. Like, hey, I want to start watching intently, like in March. Like, I want to watch closer, right? You know, I'm not watching as intently. Like you said, in the NFL, every game matters.
Right.
So that you can't do nothing about that because that's just the way the nature of the sport is. But
for sure,
yeah, maybe cut it down a little bit, change it. You know, again, give maybe it's a superstar driven league. You know, maybe you give some more incentive for players to stay on their team they got drafted by. I don't know if that makes sense. Something where, you know, you got this, everybody thinks the super team, they're waiting for the super team to come, and that team's going to dominate the league. So that's kind of changed in the LeBron era. I don't think that's changed for the better because you got like 20 teams that think their fans know they have no chance.
Right.
So that has to change a little bit. So hopefully we'll see that future, that there can be some change and be more even across the board. More franchises have hope. Obviously, the talent level is high. It's as high as it's ever been, and there's great young talent. There might not be a transcendent popular talent after LeBron right now, but there'll be some. The league is as talented as it's ever been. So
for sure,
that's something we'll keep our eye on as it goes forward. You know, how about this as we move on to our high school topics? The halftime show. How excited are you, Ani, for the halftime show? Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, those guys. You know, what do you think about that? And what do you think about the promotion of it?
You know, I'm very interested. When's the last time I seen Dr. Dre perform? Mary J. generally does a hell of a job. I'm excited about that. Haven't seen Dre really perform live in anything in a long time. I think the promotion's been great. I'm intrigued. Like, I think he can go really, really good. I don't think Dre does anything unless it's really, really good. So I think he's going to make sure it's really good, or it could be really bad.
It's not going to be in the middle. Yeah, it's going to be in the middle.
Yeah, because I think there's just so much expectations when you have Mary J. Blige and Dr. Dre, right? So, you know, if it's not really, really good, then it's really bad because, like, the standards are so high for those two performers.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see it, you know, if it's a good game, especially if that first half is boring. Like one team is getting blown out. People are going to be like, all right, I want to see Dr. Dre. That better be good. Like, you're right. You know, if it's a good game and people are looking forward to the second half, that maybe changes the perception slightly. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot of Mary J. fans out there, you know, the girls that want to see her. They won't give a shit about Burrow and Matt Stafford. They're going to want to see her perform. You know what I mean?
Some of them may pay $6,000 for them tickets.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so very interesting scenario. Obviously, that'll be in a couple weeks as we transition in the paint to the high school realm. Obviously, the first thing we want to talk about is the Iverson Classic rosters was announced.
Yeah.
Iverson Classic is April 26th or 30th in Memphis. Obviously, named after Allen Iverson, an iconic player of his time, and obviously one of the players kids today look up to the most, even though he's retired. What did you make of the roster, and why don't you go over, Ani, the guys who are in that game who didn't play, you know, didn't get selected for the McDonald's game, which we broke down last week?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I thought the roster was very interesting. I'm glad it's obviously doesn't mirror a whole lot of the McDonald's All-American game. Jackson Kohler just hit a few. It's been fantastic for SoCal Academy. Yeah. Johan Traore from Dream City, who just committed to LSU. Have to look at some of the other ones. I think Epps, he got in, and he's on that roster.
Aiden Epps going to Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's on there. I thought the roster was very interesting. I think you got a really good mix of like the top tier guys, like your 5-star guys, but I think you got some guys that have had really, really good high scholastic seasons that that kind of getting in. I wouldn't say under the radar, but just didn't make the McDonald's game, and have had a really productive season. So I think it's just a good mix of it. I think it's actually going to be one of those games. I think I don't know. What was it? Emmett Williams and the Jordan Brand had like 44 and 14, but didn't make the McDonald's game. I think you're going to see somebody in that game just have like a monster game that wasn't in the McDonald's game.
Yeah, we kind of talked about last week. I talked about my McDonald's snubs. Emmett was one of the ones I mentioned. You can go check that out on ballislife.com. But yeah, he had a monster game. He played good at the Balls Life game. Obviously, Emmett from Oak Ridge in Orlando played for our guy Steve Reese from the EYBL as well. Some of the other guys that didn't make McDonald's, Kamari Lands going to Louisville, kind of the hometown guy. That he's a very good point guard. BJ Edwards going to Tennessee. Jet Howard, Juwan Howard's son, going to Michigan. Yeah. Dior Johnson, Oregon, going, signed with Oregon. He's at SoCal Academy as well with Jackson Kohler. Previously played at Prolific and other schools. Terrace Reed, he's going to Michigan as well. I think he's at Link Academy.
He's been having a really good season.
Yeah, he's number 6 in the Fab 50. So he's rolling along. They're having a great season. Like you said, rewarding some guys that are having great seasons. You mentioned Johan and Jaden Ip. So we were talking about guys, 2 guys or 3 guys going to the same high school or same program and how big that is now. And now that there's 3 guys, with IMG's done it a few times, and Montverde. We kind of overlooked the guys. I wanted to give them a special shout out, Nick Smith and Khalil Ware from North Little Rock.
Yeah. We did overlook them
that much. Like we talked about them separately, but we didn't mention to our listeners that they go to the same school. And Khalil Ware's going to Oregon, and is Nick Smith going to Alabama?
Arkansas.
Yeah, Nick Smith's going to Arkansas. Staying home and going to Arkansas. I'm sorry, I should have known that. But they're having a great season. They're ranked 14th in the Fab 50. They've only lost to Jonesboro IMG and Calvary Christian. Calvary Christian moved up this week, even though they lost at the buzzer to Montverde in the Montverde Invitational. That was a good tournament. There was 4 nationally ranked teams in that, and in the final, Calvary Christian had beaten in the semifinals Dr. Phillips, another team from Florida, and then in the final they took on Montverde, the host, and the game was close. And then our guy Sky Clark,
hit
a 3-pointer at the buzzer to give him the win, 79-76. Sky, we talked a little bit about Sky too last week. He's coming along. He got named MVP of the tournament. This was just this past weekend. So, it was a very close game. Like you mentioned, I know you really like Calvary and the guys they have on their team.
Yeah.
They played really tough, and they really had a chance to knock out Montverde. So Calvary's only lost to Montverde and Milton. As we mentioned, and they kind of had that one bad loss in Milton. So they're in the top 10. La Lumiere is number 9. Oak Hill stays at number 8. They also won Monday night against the Burlington School earlier this week. As you listen to the spot, Oak Hill's continuing to win. Richardson, number 7. The only loss to North Little Rock. But they've done enough to be obviously ahead of North Little Rock because they got the win over Duncanville in overtime. Right. Link Academy, number 6, who some people think Link. Honestly, I've heard a lot of people, and obviously I've seen Link Academy 3 times and a few times on TV, but I saw them 3 times live at Tarkanian Classic. Some people think Link might be the best team or a team to watch. So something to keep an eye on, especially when they get in that GEICO Nationals. So they're number 6. We'll see if that holds true. They're undefeated, so, you can't go wrong. Centennial, which won a game at the NIKE Extravaganza this past week in overtime against Coronado, 24-1. Going into the week, they only lost to Duncanville. Montverde Academy stays number 4 after that win with Sky Clark hitting that big shot. IMG Academy's number 3. They have the Oak Hill split, and they lost to Sunrise. Duncanville beat Montverde, as we know, a big game earlier in the season, and then Sunrise stays number 1. They had the split with Montverde. So that's kind of where we're at with the top rated teams. And I wanted to mention about GEICO. GEICO's has announced a return to the Suncoast Arena in Fort Myers. And GEICO will be at the end of March. So it'll be the 31st through April 2nd down in Florida. And just for our fans and our listeners, the 8 teams that will be selected on March 16th. That's when the announcement for the teams will come out. So there's still a lot of, jostling and who's going to get in. We'll break that down as we get closer to March. But like I said, Link Academy is a team to watch that's not in that NIBC. And, the teams are obviously trying to finish strong in the NIBC in terms of the conference standing. Because remember, they're in a conference. So I wanted to go over that real quick. Sunrise is 7-1 in conference play. IMG is 7-2. Montverde is 6-3. Obviously, they had the split with Oak Hill, so that's where that third loss comes in. La Lumire's 5-3, and Oak Hill's 5-5. No, that just shows you how good that conference is 5-5. You're like, oh, how good are they? They're
pretty damn good.
Yeah, they're pretty damn good. So we'll see as that gets closer to the announcement date. We'll keep an eye on that. Speaking of other All-Stars, the NBA All-Star Game announced their starters. And I guess the big news is Ja Morant's first-time appearance. Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, obviously the number 2 pick of the 2018 draft. And Andrew Wiggins is voted a first-time starter. We've talked about Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
And does that say, Ani, to how good he's playing? Or does that say more the culture and the great fit he is with the Golden State Warriors?
I think, how good he's been playing. I think it's a mixture of both. I think he's been playing really well. I think Golden State was a great situation for him to go to after his stint in Minnesota. And he put up good numbers in Minnesota. It's just Golden State, now it's actually contributing to winning basketball, right? I think obviously he's also a product of a really, really strong fan base right now in Golden State to be voted as a starter. But he's having a good season, averaging about 19 points per game. He's scoring it well. They're winning. I think Golden State's second. I think they're second in the West right now. So do I think he deserves a starter spot? No, but he's definitely an NBA All-Star. In my opinion, and I think he's been playing. I think he's been playing really, really well.
Yeah, I agree. I go to the fit, heavy. Again, it goes back to what we said. Minnesota fans are thinking we love Andrew Wiggins just like they love Kevin Garnett or J.R. Ryder, but they probably think we're going to lose him. He's going to go to another team, or we'll see what happens when he goes to another team. Is he really? Because like you said, he's not contributing to winning basketball. It goes back to our point we made about every team having a chance, or the perception of them having a chance is very important. Minnesota is one of those teams that's looked at as that they don't have a legitimate chance to win the NBA title. So Wiggins leaves and he kind of gets rejuvenated. And he's always been talented. We've talked about that before. He's probably one of those top 10 talents of the last 20 years in terms of how people projected him coming out of high school and how talented they thought he was. Now he's playing to that level. He's not an all-time NBA player, but he's very good, and he's making an NBA All-Star appearance. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his high school coach, Rob Fulford, who I got to know. And at that time, Andrew Wiggins was our Mr. Basketball USA, our National Player of the Year that year. He kind of squeaked over Jabari Parker. Jabari started off a little injured. And Jabari's junior year was just as good as his senior year. Jabari was really in the running two years. That's right. Andrew was just really good as a senior. So I'm happy for him, happily personally for the people that support him, the people at Huntington Prep, the people in Canada that like him, CIA Bounce, all those guys that Mike George, who went on to be an agent. I'm happy for all those guys if he's doing what, he's representing them well. Wanted to ask you something about Ja Morant.
Okay.
And put you on the spot a little bit. I like to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I'm ready.
I like putting you on the spot. So are we at the point where drafting Zion Williamson over Ja Morant is now looked at as like, oh boy, I wish we would have drafted Ja, or is it not there yet? We're not. Does Zion have a chance to bounce back and be the better player?
I think Zion has a chance. I think Zion has a chance to bounce back. That's a really good question because he was so good last year.
Okay.
Zion was just so good last year, and you can see how the potential superstar ability there is.
Yeah.
Now if we're in this, we're doing our the 200 and would be 214 episode. Let's say a year from now, and we still have the same issues. He's still sitting out. He's 385 pounds. Then 100%. But I definitely think it's not yet. It's close.
Okay.
But I think when Zion was healthy, he was really good. Now, I don't know if this is like some Greg Oden, KD type situation where he didn't look too bad when Greg Oden was healthy, right?
Yeah.
And playing.
Oh, Greg Oden was good. Yeah.
Yeah. But, the problem was, could he ever get healthy? And so I think, that's kind of how I compare it to. I don't think just yet, but we're closer to it than it's not.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you there. I do think that obviously Zion has a chance, and his health is not in the situation Greg's was.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's starting to creep in people's mind. Now, some fans are like, God dang it, Zion is such a generational talent, but he's never going to be healthy. Some people have already, again, like we talked about the minute by minute social media people, the in the moment people are like, can't get over it. Obviously, I don't think Ja Morant right now is the Kevin Durant talent, but like he's continuing to plateau up and move up and peak up. I guess trending up's the right word, not plateau, trending up. And Zion is really good when he's on the court. And how long, is he going to be on the court? But no, I don't think it's that too. KD, Oden, and I'm a big Oden fan, so I'm not nowhere near the we should have drafted Morant number 1. Like, go back to 2006, I still would have drafted Greg Oden unless I knew some medical history that let me know that this guy may not be healthy or he's not healthy already.
Right.
Then I would have said, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Now you're going back to the Sam Bowie thing with Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, if I had some great concrete information that Greg may not be healthy or wasn't healthy, then maybe I would look at it. But if I didn't have that, I would still draft Greg over Kevin Durant.
Absolutely. And didn't Greg Oden his freshman year, didn't most of the team play with like a broken hand?
Yeah, he played with a broken hand. They went to the final.
Right. Yeah, that's what people don't remember. Like, he was so good. He was playing with a broken hand.
He was super good. He's the best center prospect in quite a while. He was awesome his freshman year. He lived up to the hype. Just wasn't healthy. I don't know if you could. The only thing I could say in retrospect, again, this is hindsight. Anybody can play Monday morning quarterback. Is that he played in a ton of AAU grassroots events. He put a lot of mileage on. Maybe that was something that he had an old looking body. Obviously he looked like a grown man. He was a grown man. I'm a big fan of Greg Oden overall on the court.
Right.
I am. So, and I got to meet him a little bit. He's a nice guy. But besides that, he was a transcendent generational talent. But it worked out for Kevin Durant. And somebody did mention to me, Ronnie, Kevin Durant has an insane work ethic. Right. I think he's going to be a great pro. But he still ranked him Oden number 1. So with all that being said, I think I would still take Oden number 1.
Now, that Ja Morant and Zion Williamson thing, you talked about peaks. Like, you talked about Charles Barkley and Lawrence Taylor, like how, their peak was. Yeah. Like, Ja Morant and Zion's is kind of how athletic they are. And you kind of see them with like the Derrick Roses and the Blake Griffins. Yeah. Are they, in your opinion, are they guys that, when they're at their peak, it's just going to be their peak and that's kind of be about it? Or like,
I think if Zion gets in shape and gets healthy, his peak is going to be really good, but I don't think it's going to last till his late 30s. He's going to be 35, first team All NBA. I'll be very surprised if we're doing episode 1000, All NBA at 35 years old. I don't see that, but Ja Morant can adjust his game. He should adjust. He's going to eventually adjust his game a little bit. Like, I people still like Derrick Rose. They still think he's a viable player. Now, obviously, they'd rather want the explosive Derrick Rose, but he learned to play the game. Other guys have learned to play the game over time. Didn't use the athleticism as much. Now, obviously, he's not as talented as Ja Morant, I don't think. But number 1 pick, Larry Johnson, adjusted his game pretty well. He couldn't jump no more. Larry was a powerful high flyer in his UNLV days and his early days. And by the time he got after his 4th or 5th season in the league, after he got the back injury with Charlotte, like he was a on the ground player, but he was still productive. He was still productive. So
yeah, he was.
Sure. That, especially with the Knicks, he had a couple productive seasons. So I think they can adjust and have long careers. Man, that's going to be a very interesting thing to follow, as they go on. Now back to the All-Star games, your reserves. Who do you think deserves to get in? I know there's a lot of talk in the Eastern Conference, or the East team. I know the team may be broken up a little different. Who are some of the guys that need to be on these reserve teams?
I think Cleveland the Cavs are, I think, are 4th, I think, in the
East.
In the East right now. I think Darius Garland and Jared Allen, I think, have had All-Star seasons. Awesome. Darius Garland's been really, really good. Been one of my favorite point guards to watch this season. I got to watch a few Cleveland games, and Jared Allen's been fantastic, and he's a Texas guy. So definitely would love to see both him get his first All-Star appearance, and of course Darius Garland. James Harden, I think he definitely deserves it, even though he's kind of had a down year. The changing of the rules and everything have kind of changed some stuff up for him. But I think I definitely think like those three, just off the top of my mind, I feel like just really deserve to be in the All-Star game. Atlanta's been down. You got Trae Young in there. Brooklyn, it's going to be interesting. I think Jason Tatum definitely needs to be in there. I know KD's probably not going to play in the All-Star game. So now then it's like, I think Jaylen Brown potentially gets in there as well. So, and even though Boston hasn't had a great season, but like Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, I think really they're Heat are like number 1 or 2 in the East. So I think Jimmy Butler for sure should get in. You can't have a top 2 seed team and not anybody from the East. Yeah, not from that team being there. Yeah, even though like Jimmy's been hurt. Bam Adebayo, I think he's been hurt for too long. So like that's who I would go for as like my reserves.
Yeah, and I like your pick of Darius Garland. I'm happy to see the younger guys or the guys that are highly ranked high school players lately, and when they pan out, they do well. That's always good to see. Get some of the younger guys in. Obviously, you said the league's changing. The league's going to change a lot. It's going to be interesting, like you see, to see who fills the void as Steph Curry ages and as LeBron retires, or ages and is out of the league. Obviously, Steph Curry still got some legs in. He still got mileage in him. That's going to be a very interesting story to see if he can get another one, or if this Warriors team can get another. And I think that's what the NBA center around right now. Like you said, they have a lot of fan bases. They have all the lukewarm fans, the bandwagon fans. They all vote for Andrew Wiggins and those guys. So as we close out the show, wanted to talk a little bit back in the high school ranks about what I saw this past weekend. NIKE Extravaganza, like I said, it's Corona Centennial, who's a great team.
Yes.
I know they're number 5 in the Fab 50 right now. Only the close loss to Duncanville, which in a sense was a road game. But the NIKE Extravaganza didn't have maybe because Modern Day doesn't have one of his vintage teams, didn't have the pizzazz. I think people on the West Coast are still a little spooked and worried about COVID. It was only like 1/6 full. So hopefully as the playoffs near, we get a little bit more steam and momentum for some games. The CIF Southern section, whereas the large section in Southern California, already announced that there's only going to be home sites. So like whoever's the home team, that's going to be at their home site. It's not going to be at like a big arena or like Galen Center or Poly Pavilion. None of that. No crypto.com, whatever whatever that's called. There ain't going to be no games over there. Staples Center, aka crypto.com,
It's going to be at the school gym.
Yeah, it's going to be at the school gym. So, again, COVID is still affecting what we're doing in certain parts of the country, maybe not as in others, but it was still a good event. Coronado's been battle tested.
Yes.
Coronado's going to go to Chicago this week. Donda has a homecoming event, whereas Glenbard West is going to play Sierra Canyon. Sierra Canyon lost to Camden in a showcase game. Now, that game, people care about basketball in Philly and that tri-state area. Like, they came out to Allentown and watched DJ Wagner and Bronny. I know that's what most people want to watch. They've been wanting to see that game for a long time. What's your hot take on DJ Wagner and Bronny? Obviously, they had 10,000 fans, whereas in California, we're barely drawing a couple hundred to a game. So, like, what's your take on that? And then, Glenbard West, they got a kid going to Gonzaga who's very good. And Glenbard West is actually now, I have him higher than Sierra Canyon after that loss to Camden, 66-62. Glenbard West is going to play. So Chicago's going to be where it's at this upcoming weekend. Donna's going to play. Obviously, Kanye West has been promoting it a little bit on social media. So, there's going to be a couple good games. Fans got to choose. They got to go to one or the other. You want to watch Bronny, or you going to go watch Kanye, the hometown boy, or Bronny? Like, what do you want to watch?
The people are going to go watch in Donda. I remember when Donda came down here, real quick, short story, like when they came down to Capel, Texas. I've never seen the Capel gym be that stacked just to see Mikey and see Donda. Like, that was insane. Like, I waited in a line for 45 minutes.
Oh boy.
Just to watch. So, I know where the traction is going to go. Cam, that was a really good game. I thought DJ Wagner, he's kind of bounced back from that little Camden struggled that 1 week where they lost to Montverde, and Calvary got him pretty good. I think he's kind of really bounced back and played well. It's hard, for Sierra Canyon to go out there and beat them. I thought Bronny did a solid job. I thought they were good. I didn't predict them to win that game. I thought it was just going to be too much. Like you said, 10,000 people there. I'm watching it, and then just like the energy was just insane, right?
Yeah,
and just
people want to see Bronny.
People want to see Bronny. Then you got Wagner and Bronny. Like, and I don't think they've ever really played against each other. Like,
Nope. People have been waiting for that.
Right. So, and I thought Bronny held his own. I thought DJ's been really, really good, especially since he's shown a lot of bounce back. But I think it's hard. You ain't going out there and beating Camden.
Camden's a nationally good team. They bounced back from that loss to Calvary, like you said. And if Calvary beats Montverde, which they almost, they were right there.
Right.
That loss, that game's all different. Like, Calvary is a really good team. Like, Camden is obviously pretty good because Calvary caught them on a good day where they were playing well and Camden was playing bad. But, like, there's no shame in really losing to Calvary. Now, maybe you don't want to lose like that, but they're
right.
They're playing really good. They have a really good team, and I gotta. Really,
and then, like you said, like Sierra, like with Sierra, you can tell, like you were talking about just the pieces and just like how much talent they have. You can still see that they're still trying to. I won't say please the other guys, but they're just you're so talented. You're trying to figure out where do you go to at this stretch of the game? Where do you go to in the fourth when it's like when you have that many horses, how do you try to make sure all of them get a piece of the pie and get the portion that they want, right?
Yeah. We got to give a shout out to Aaron Bradshaw, the big man for Camden.
Absolutely.
He played well, and he played well against the McDonald's All-American, Kajani Wright. And as I said last week, certain days Kajani has 15 and 10, and other days he doesn't have that production. Some days Isaiah Ehalim's playing a lot, and other days, Ramel Lloyd Jr. going to Nebraska is playing a lot. Like Ramel Lloyd Jr. has been the MVP in 2 of their events.
Yes,
and this game he didn't play that much. So like you said, it's how is he going to work in the playoffs coming up? And obviously everybody is assuming and predicting in that Corona Centennial matchup, which they're not going to play in the regular season. So Corona Centennial has more continuity. Why do they have more continuity? Because they're together, but also they don't have that bench. So of course those guys, McCain, Donovan Dent, are going to stay in the game and be, especially in a game like that, they're going to play all the minutes. So Sierra Canyon's in a different boat. And like you said, against Camden, if you're not clicking on all cylinders, they went down real fast, 15-2. They only scored 2 points in the first quarter. That's not going to cut it against a team like Camden. DJ Wagner had 21 points. I still think DJ Wagner's in the running for National Player of the Year. We'll update our Mr. Basketball USA tracker soon. Find that on ballislife.com. But yeah, back to the NIKE Extravaganza as we close out. Corona Centennial 80-71 over a well battle-tested Coronado team that will be in Chicago this weekend. And, Donovan Dent, we talked about him going to New Mexico, 10 of 13 from the field, 9 of 10 free throws, made some key shots at the end, 31 points, 7 assists, 1 steal against Pop Isaacs, who's going to Texas Tech. Pop had some big moments as well. He had a really good game, and Pop played well. And he had 22 points, 3 of 9 from the three. He had three free throws to put the game in overtime. So it was a good, entertaining game that Coronado played about as well as they could. Yeah. Some of the other standouts I wanted to mention is Darion Williams going to Gorman. Bishop Gorman rolled over Whitney Young.
Saw that.
Yeah, Darion Williams, track of all trades, small forward. He has a couple offers. It looks like Nevada's going to visit him at practice on Wednesday. So that's probably if Nevada and or Utah, if one of those two offers, Darion will probably go there. I know they're supposed to come visit on Wednesday. Head coach Steve Alford, who's now at Nevada. So, that's a guy who's really come on during the season. He had a tough time during COVID. Dusty Stromer, Notre Dame won a big game, Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame, California, over St. Augustine, who's the top team in the CIF San Diego section. He's a 223 small forward. I thought Dusty played really well. Pull-up game is good. He has good size. He's athletic. He's really coming along in that class. I really like Dusty. I think he's, one of the top players overall in the southern section and in California, really. He's playing really well.
He had a good July, I remember.
Yeah. Dusty, let me give you his final stats real quick as we close out. He had 20 points, 9 of 13 from the field. Very, very good player. Brady Dunlap, whose dad, he's Mike Dunlap's son. He plays at Harvard Westlake. Harvard Westlake also won a big game. And those teams should all be in the Southern Section Open Division with Centennial and Sierra Canyon, meaning Notre Dame and Harvard Westlake. They play in the same league, Notre Dame and Harvard Westlake. Notre Dame won the league matchup this year, and they're not playing the second round of league games because of COVID. So they're only going to play one. So that was a big game. Harvard Westlake beat a good Crean Lutheran team. And we've talked about Crean Lutheran with Victorious Miller, USC bound Cole Keat. Yeah. And he played really well. And Brady Dunlap hit 8 of 12 shots, 20 overall points. Cameron Thrower, who's going to Penn, had a good game. He's been All-State last year. He had 18 points, 4 assists. So he played well. Really like that team. They'll have a chance in the Open Division. Christian Watson had a good game for Long Beach Poly. Peyton Watson's brother, who's obviously at UCLA. Ty Weaver, I wanted to give a shout out to. Ty Weaver is a 6'6", 222. He has offers from UCR and Southern Utah, and he's a really good player. Ty Weaver will go D1. Taj DeGorville, Durango High School in Nevada, 224, 6'5". Durango has a young team. They're already in the Fab 50.
Yeah, I saw they won with the 5 teams that weren't ranked, and they made it into the Fab 50.
Yeah, they jumped in, and they really deserve it because they have a couple good wins, and they played Faith Family very close in third place game at Tark, and they beat a good Etiwanda team. Etiwanda's pretty good. Mm-hmm. They have a really good team, and Durango handed it to them. They shot really well. And they just blew them out offensively. They just have a much better offense team. They're very young. So Tyler Weaver goes to Aliso Niguel, as you watch him as a D1 guy from a smaller level. Like I said, Southern Utah or UCR, and Durango has very good young players. Last guy I wanted to mention, AJ Johnson. He's at Taft. He's a 223, a point guard. They played on Friday. Now, the city section is a little down. He goes to Taft High School in Woodland Hills, which is an LA City section school, but he's a 6'4" point guard. He's well known. He didn't have a sophomore year because of COVID, but people know him as a good player. 6'4" guard who could do a little bit of all, getting the keys, covering ground well. He's really a guy to watch. So those are the guys I thought stood out to me. Obviously there was a lot of games over 2 days, but those guys are guys to look out for. And, I wanted to close on this, and we'll get into this more next week, and maybe even as a topic, Ani, is there a player right now, again, I don't want to give away next week, but like with Mikey, everybody wants to see Mikey Williams, Bronny, and to an extent, obviously, we talked about DJ Wagner. Like, what's the player horizon? Is this another player going to come along? Is there a player in 224 or 225 that's exciting that the country should know about? Because, like you said, 10,000 people wanted to see Bronny against DJ Wagner. People were watching at home. Is there any other player that has that type of draw? Or who in the 224, 225 class? Is there anybody close to those guys?
Man, that draw is different. I mean, when and like both me and you have seen it firsthand, just in gyms. I mean, they're packed, and I've never seen them packed before. And they're probably playing a regular opponent. I don't think there's anybody that will have that much impact where they fill the seats up. I do think there's some exciting players like down here in Texas, Trey Johnson, who's a 224 kid out of Lake Highlands. I mean, ESPN has him ranked, I think, 3rd in the country in that class. I mean, he had 37 points, and Lake Highlands was actually against Richardson. Lake Highlands was down double digits going to the second half, and he almost caused an upset right there. I mean, he's just a scorer, 3-level guy, 3-level scorer that just, can shoot it from way deep. Athletic, gets by guys, just real talented, but he's not going to make me wait 45 minutes at Capel, Texas. Like in a line. I just don't see that. I know a player is going to come up, but to that magnitude, like Hansel and Mikey and Bronny, I don't see that.
Yeah, there's some talented players out there, and we're going to be following them. So we'll see how that works out, and if somebody emerges this summer, maybe this spring. Obviously, we're going to focus on the end of the high school season and the playoffs in the next couple of episodes. But so for now, we're going to be ready to close this shop on this episode 114 of the In the Paint Show. So we appreciate everybody tuning into this episode presented by Ball is Life. And make sure, check out ballslife.com for the rankings, for the latest stories. Check out our various podcasts and, sign up for notifications. Let us know how you feel about what we're talking about. If you have any topic you want us to bring up, I really appreciate the people logging in. We've been getting a lot of listeners. We're trying to get people to watch on that YouTube, but we know people are listening. Hopefully they're listening on the drive to work, or they're listening, before a game, or wherever they're listening. Our listeners are going on. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. But till the next episode, Ronnie and Ani are logging off.